Let's start with TNA.
All right.
The firework display is what this was.
So I finished my ordeal. I get out of the car. I pop on the computer here to watch the show. And what do I get first? Beatdown Clan versus The Rising, 4-on-3 elimination match where the losing team must disband.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, wow, The Rising must be stupid to accept a match like this. And the announcers, it was not their exact words, but they were kind of asking, why were The Rising so stupid to accept this match?
Yeah.
It's patently unfair and the stakes are so high. It's not like just pride was in the line and they just wanted a chance to fight. No, they could no longer be friends. They lost this match. And then the announcers began to tear apart this whole stip, point out, you could just change one or two guys, get a different name, and come back the next day. Just couldn't call themselves The Rising anymore. So Loki's working Micah over, and he pins him with a kick, and the crowd doesn't care. Micah. And the crowd doesn't care, and Josh throws it to commercial, sounding bored out of his skull. Like everything about this was done to minimize any emotional impact anything in this match might have had.
You know what was worse? I realize that we've missed a lot of Impact shows, but I could not possibly care less about the Beatdown Crew or The Rising. I mean, maybe it's because we missed a lot of shows, but to me, it's just two random factions out of the 9 million factions that we have seen in the history of TNA. Has there ever been a promotion that's had more pointless factions than TNA? Well, the answer is no.
Considering everything TNA does is pointless, the answer is no.
There have never, if someone compiled a list of every faction in TNA history, you wouldn't even remember 90% of them. And you've watched almost every show they've ever done. So, two teams I couldn't care about. Elimination match. It was unfair. Nobody cared. I mean, nobody cared about these eliminations. Everybody worked hard. I got to give them that.
I guess.
But, man, it was dreadful.
So Eli Drake hurts himself on a pescado. He's selling his knee or his ankle, and they announce he is out of the match. And they take him to the back. So now it's Drew Galloway 4-on-1, and Drew in there by himself realized, wow, he's gotten really fat. And he's resting for a while. There's 4 or 5 feet of black cable or tape or something in the corner of the ring. No one does anything about it. They just leave it there because they don't care. Just what a rinky-dink company this is. It's so small town and minor league. So the I call them clowns, what the hell? The Beatdown Clowns, they botch double team, and then Drew pins Loki with a schoolboy, of course. I didn't even know that at the time, but yeah, it was a schoolboy. And then he pins King, who got hit with a kick. So now it's 2-on-1. And then they just beat him up and pin him.
Yeah.
Going back over this is unbelievably just lame.
I mentioned at the very beginning that the Beatdown Clown...
See?
That's exactly... My point was, when they first gave them this name, I said it's impossible to say Beatdown Clan without saying Beatdown Clown 90% of the time, which has now been proven true. And by the way, they're still around. The Rising is gone. By the way, the very next segment is the Beatdown Clan celebrating, and they learn that Low-Key has been sent to the hospital with a separated shoulder. What? He was just working, and he seemed fine.
After he was eliminated, he tried to attack Drew, but Drew hit him with a shoulder breaker onto the stairs.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I missed that. I was busy...
having a life, I hope.
Now, I was watching it, furiously typing how much I thought this match was dreadful.
It was no good. Magnus was in the ring for a promo.
On Bell to Bell. That's what the show was called, Bell to Bell, which I thought meant there would be wrestling bell to bell. But there were at least 2 long talking segments on this show. So I have no idea what bell to bell means.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So Magnus brings out his wife, Mickie James, who it turns out is not dead.
Totally fine, actually.
She thanks the fans for their well wishes, thanks Magnus for standing by her and believing in her. She begins to address James Storm when out comes James Storm wearing a cool paisley shirt. He says Mickey should thank him for not putting her in a wheelchair. And Mickey got angry, and she went after him. And then Magnus held her back. Magnus apparently saying, now, dear, let's hear what this man who attempted to kill you has to say. Maybe he's got some good points. Let's hear him out.
Well, he didn't.
No. The attempted murderer and his intended victim yammered on for a while. Something about Storm saying he could find a woman and Mickey challenging him to do so. And just watching this thinking, obviously this was taped a long time ago. Everyone involved has since quit. This is wrestling as produced at a hospice center.
Wow. Basically.
30-minute Iron Man match, the Dirty Heels versus the Wolves.
Okay. I hate to nitpick, but the final match of a best-of-5 series being an Iron Man match, after doing things like TLC matches earlier in the series, is goofy. Plus, as you noted, it is a 30-minute Iron Man match, and it's a tag team match, which means you can sit on the apron for extended periods of time, which is not very Iron Man-y. And this is one of the things about WCW and now TNA. Although I'm sure WWE will do another Iron Man match at some point, but anybody who has paid any attention to ratings knows that Iron Man matches have not worked in well over a decade. Maybe longer here in this country. Because people know nothing matters until the end. So, you'd probably get a much better reaction if you did a straight match that went 30 minutes or a straight match that went 60 minutes, because then it would feel epic. If you announce a normal match and it goes 30 to 60 minutes, it becomes an epic match. If you announce a match is going 30 or 60 minutes, it just feels long. And they may as well have just gone 30 minutes because they didn't even do a fall for the first 25 minutes. Now, with all that said, they worked very hard, and it was a very good match, but no more Iron Man matches. They don't work.
No, I agree with everything you just said. All four of these guys are very good wrestlers. Bobby Roode, in particular, is so awesome at just subtle little things that just make stuff better. But it was a good match that I knew nothing mattered for 25 or 26 minutes. And so I didn't really care. They had a long heat segment, hot tag and comeback, another long heat segment, then a few finishes. The only thing I liked about it that made sense was the Dirty Heels. They went up 1-0 with about 4 minutes to go. And then they immediately went into kill the clock mode. They threw Eddie Edwards out of the ring and just tried to not let him back in. That was the whole goal. And like for like 2.5 minutes, that's the story of the match. And it made total sense. And it made sense that the heels would try to sit in the lead and kill clock. Don't do anything exciting. And the babyfaces are frantically trying to make their comeback. That made sense and was something you don't always see in Iron Man matches. But otherwise, yeah, a very, very good match. That would have been much better just doing a 30-minute tag match. Wolves won, if we didn't mention that.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Hope so. Aries is gone.
That's right. Awesome Kong versus Brooke versus Taryn Terrell for the Knockouts title.
I love Taryn.
What do you love about her?
Huge knockers.
Fair enough.
And when she sells and she waves her arms like a pterodactyl. Ever seen that? Watch her sell next time. It's amazing.
I'm more thinking I've never seen a pterodactyl wave its arms.
She stumbles around the ring and her arms just go like this. I'm trying to think. You know what her arms do? When Bayley comes out and she's got those inflatable men and their arms are just going like this. Mm-hmm. That's how Taryn sells.
Got it.
Yeah.
So Kong did a striking sequence with Taryn that was in absolute slow motion. I don't know if it was in slow motion because Kong's hurt that bad or if because she wanted to make sure Taryn could keep up. And the dollhouse started brawling with Kong on the floor. And this gave Brooke a chance to try and win in the ring. Then the dollhouse knocked Brooke off the ropes, and they jumped Kong from the apron, and Taryn Hitty cut her for the win. So the dollhouse are leaving, and then they've been doing this scary video where there's just creepy images and the candle being extinguished, and other than mentioning somewhere that there's like something about taking the dolls out. It's not clear who this is. Well, it's just Gail Kim.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize she had been gone.
I don't know if she's been gone, but
yeah.
You know what's funny about this match is we'll talk about Nikki Bella. Not a lot, but she's doing the road to 300. God forbid. But she's doing the road to 300. And at the end of this match, Josh, who is a babyface in this match, by the way, mentions that Taryn has been the champion for 231 days. Did you hear that?
Something about them. I heard them talking about her title reign. I didn't write down the number.
Yeah, 231 days, they said. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, in the list of knockout champions, Taryn won the belt from Havoc on September 16, 2014. No, I'm sorry, September 19, 2014. That's when she won the belt from Havoc.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the time she lost the title at the tapings, she had been the champion for 279 days.
Okay.
That taping took place on June 25.
I see.
So my point is, this is just like WCW. How do you undercut how long a person has held the title? You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay, I understand your point now. I was confused for a second.
I mean, it's nothing to care about. It's just amazing that she had been the champion at that time. At the time that they had taped this, she'd probably been champion for like 260 days. And for some reason, they decided to give the stat of 231 to make it less impressive. I was like, Jesus, anything else? And I am sad she ended up losing the title, but what can you do?
I'm sad you went to Wikipedia to research the accuracy of her title reign.
Well, what I did was when he said 231, I was like, I got to go find out how this compares to Nikki Bella.
Wow. All right.
And that's what I figured out. That actually Taryn Terrell had significantly more days, but TNA's stat made her have less days. It's just, it doesn't matter. It's just funny.
So then we got a segment. Now, we didn't watch or review the show where Jeff Jarrett was actually on Impact, but I read about it in The Observer.
I saw it on Periscope.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if that made it better or worse. I don't really care. Point being, TNA worked everyone in their own company just to make sure that Jarrett's appearance would be a surprise. Because Lord knows a surprise appearance by Jeff Jarrett on a national wrestling television wrestling program in 2015 means more than a pile of shit.
You know who else didn't know about it?
Destination America.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they're wondering, hey, why are we, what's the segment here not on the format promoting a wrestling company that we don't have a contract for?
That is exactly what they said.
And do you know why? Because Destination America is run by rational human beings who think about things logically. No wonder they hate TNA. Now, the point to all this that I'm getting to is, people in TNA think Jeff Jarrett's a big deal. He ain't. He's not. He's nothing. He's irrelevant to the world. He's a non-issue.
Wow.
So they're plugging this interview with Jeff and Karen Jarrett and Mike Tenay. Mike's like, I can't believe what I saw 7 days ago. And just like, oh, I couldn't believe it the day before. Mike says there going to be more between TNA and Global Force. And Jeff says, Global Force and TNA will have a future together. And it's going to shock people. Then it ended.
That was it.
That's all you had to say. Then, here's where it really gets amazing. They said, tune in next week. And my eyes bugged out. My jaw hit the floor. They think a selling point to get people to watch their program is tune in next week to hear Jeff Jarrett speak for 60 seconds and make vague, non-committal, meaningless statements. No! I don't want to see more of this. Show me less of this. And I wasn't angry about it. I was sad. Because I do believe they're trying so hard to make a wrestling show and save their company. But they're so dumb.
Yeah, this ain't turning the business around, I'm afraid.
No.
Actually, it is for Jeff. Honest to God.
The only one with a clue.
I got to write a book about Jeff Jarrett.
I know he's buried him, but he is the only one with the clue here.
He is. That's what you don't get.
No, I get that.
This guy had a promotion, Global Force Wrestling, that was running these arenas, and he had no workers. And so he talked TNA into a gimmick where he would do an invasion angle, and he would get access to their talent for his shows. And he came in and won their belt on their pay-per-view. And then he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And then, I don't even know what. It's amazing what he has managed to finagle here.
Yeah.
Maybe he can save wrestling.
No. He can throw a few more dollars in his own pocket, which is great. That's a wonderful thing to do. I just don't, he's not saving shit. EC3 versus Kurt Angle for the world title.
I thought this was great.
Well, why don't you talk about it for a while?
Well, they had a very, very good match. And Kurt Angle has a tumor in his neck, and he's 46, and he still worked his ass off. And he's still one of the best wrestlers in this business. And EC3 came in with a Megatan, and he worked his ass off. And the fans were going crazy at the finish. They're going nuts. They're chanting, "That was 3" for the near falls. Women are shrieking at the top of their lungs. They did a creative ref bump where Angle gave him a belly-to-belly into the referee, which if you're going to kill the referee, that's a good way to do it. And then Tyrus came in, hit the Asbury Park driver, I think. I never know what the hell Tyrus is doing. And then EC3 hit his finish, another near fall. Kurt kicked out of that. First man to ever kick out of it. He put him in the ankle lock and scissored the leg, which almost no one ever gets out of. But EC3 did get out of it, slipped out, slipped behind on an angle slam, rolled him up, cleaned him, pinned him clean in the middle. Angle was awesomely disappointed. EC3 did a great celebration. After an hour and 40 minutes of every TNA show you've ever seen, we finally got a World Heavyweight Championship Wrestling match where the undefeated guy beat the champion clean and won the title. And for 20 minutes, it felt like there was hope. There isn't, but it felt like there was hope. In fact, I've been thinking about this for a while. This company is spiraling out of control and may be dead in September. And I thought, can you imagine being EC3 and you are going to be the champion when this Titanic sinks? You're not the champion at its peak. You're not the champion when it's on top of the world and doing 1.5 million viewers on Spike TV or whatever. You're the champion when they're doing 300,000 views on Destination America and the ship hit the iceberg and it's taken on water quick. That sucks for that poor guy. He's the guy with the belt as the ship sinks into the icy Atlantic Sea. However, when I watched this match, I was like, you know what? If I was EC3, I'd be proud. Because that was a goddamn great wrestling match that you won that championship in. That someday you can show your kids and they'll go, wow, Daddy was a big deal. So, more power to him. Fortunately, is to wake up the next day, go to work as the ship sinks. But hey, for one match, everything was great. That's my thoughts on this battle.
I'm happy for you that you like this more than I did. I thought it was a Kurt Angle match I have seen 500 times now. And I thought it was a TNA match I've seen 500 times now with lots of interference and a ref bump and all that stuff. And I thought Tyrus, I think he had a big ending. I'm not sure about that either. And my biggest thing about this actually is I thought the whole point of Ethan's whole push and gimmick has been he is a geek. He's a geek who cheats to win or gets lucky and win. And he's never been established as any kind of threat. He's just a geek. So here, his bodyguard's ejected. He has no paid-off ref. There's nothing to defend him. And so Kurt Angle, at the end, has beaten the fuck out of him. Yes, he kicked out of the Angle Slam. But Kurt has him in the ankle lock. And with the leg grapevine, and Ethan's biting down on his wrist pad to fight off the pain, and he gets to the ropes. So Kurt is patiently waiting for this guy to try to get back to his feet. He tries one angle slam, and Ethan slips over the top and hits essentially a sunset flip, and yes, he wins. And what I thought was, wow, Kurt just lost to a destroyed man. Kurt lost to the one-legged man. And Kurt's face, I agree that Kurt's facials were awesome, but it was the look of, I can't believe I screwed that up. And it came off as a match, not that Ethan won, but that Kurt lost. And Ethan happened to be the guy there. I was blown away. They let him, they did not put him over stronger than this, honestly. So, Kurt has a tumor in his neck. He's going to be gone for a while and coming back, apparently.
1 month.
Yeah, well, that's not far long at all. God, actually, all things considered, he should take more. Well, if there would be a company to come back to, I'd say he should take 6 months off. But Ethan's the champion now, and that is Impact.
Well, Vinny, we had Ethan on the show, and he explained somewhat. They've done a shitty job explaining this to you, the viewer, because you had no idea. But the story is that when Ethan first came in, he was protected by his Aunt Dixie because he did suck, and he was a geek, and he had to be helped to win his matches, and he had to be given geeks like Norv Fergal or whatever his name is. But over the last 2 years, he has improved dramatically as a wrestler, and now he is a legitimate threat to anybody. That was supposed to be the story. So let's talk about this TNA show. You sounded like it was trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. So the whole show sucked, okay? But at the very end, it's like there was a moral to the story. Dixie Carter comes in at the end. Ethan Carter's in charge of the show, and the show sucks. So at the end, Dixie Carter comes out and goes, Ethan, this show was an embarrassment, so we need to bring in a guy who, so that was like the idea. The idea is that we purposely booked this terrible show, so at the end, we can say, because Ethan Carter was booking the show, that he did a crappy job of booking. So that was the deal.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it was not very entertaining at all. I mean, other than...
Didn't he defend the title 3 times on one show?
Yes, he did. And,
so he's a heel, and his decision is, I'm going to be a fighting champion and defend 3 times on one show?
I mean...
all geeks?
One was Norv Furman, and the second was Shark Boy, and the third ended up being Kurt Angle, and he just ran away on that one.
Nice.
So no, so it's so he comes out and he's going to defend the title 3 times, and then so Matt Hardy challenges him to a title match, and he declines the title match, and he said, "Well, I've already booked you in a tag team match against Aries and Rude, you and Jeff, but your stupid brother broke his leg, so I guess you got a handicap match." So Aries and Rude, beat Matt, and then the Rising came out and. They have to break up because they lost that match last week. Eli was on crutches and said that he wanted to thank Drew Galloway for how much he got him in the door at TNA, and he's going to show him how much that means to him, which basically means that next week on TV he turns on Drew Galloway. And
he should. It was Drew Galloway's idea to do that stupid handicap match with their whole faction on the line.
Yeah. So Drew does this speech, and Ethan Carter starts like crying, and he said that he had booked the Rising in a 3-on-3 match, but you got no partners, so Galloway had to do a 3-on-1 handicap match. Yes, right after that other geeky handicap match, we got another one which with Koya, Abyss, and Manic, which this one went like 2 minutes, and Drew pinned Manic, so he actually won his handicap match. It was pretty bad, setting up like Koya turning on them. Because Koya had Drew beat, and then Abyss pulled Koya off because Abyss didn't like the idea that Koya was going to get the win. Then Mr. Anderson confronts EC3, and he wants a title match. We congratulated him for winning the title and said that he not only won it, but he won it on his own, and he wanted a title shot. And Ethan Carter turned him down and said that, in fact, you've been booked tonight to win a match with Bram. So he and Bram have a match. By the way, Josh Matthews is was going back and forth between heel and face again. It's just
is he playing a Bella?
I guess that's what he's doing. Yeah. So he's like the John Cena of announcers. That's what and he can't leave because the the announcing's so good that it'll crumble without him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this match kind of sucked, and Bram, I think he used a chair and got disqualified in like 2-3 minutes, and he just destroyed EC3 afterwards and kept hitting him with the mic. And he beat him down, and he was pretty good at, that wasn't his beatdown was a pretty effective beatdown. Then we had Robbie and Jesse in a street fight, which the typical garbage can lids and kendo stick shots. I can't call it a good match, but there were a few cool spots. There were a few cool spots in the match, but it wasn't like they worked well together. And Jesse won with a Boston Crab while Robbie was underneath a chair. So then EC3 bragged that he was going to have 3 5-star matches, which in fact violates every WWE rule about what you're allowed to say on TV.
That's right.
And said that he was going to have 15 stars. It's going to have a 15-star match. So Bobby Lashley came in, and he wanted a title shot. And EC3 turned him down and said that you're booked against Tyrus. So Bobby said that he didn't mind making
That's a punishment.
Yeah, he didn't mind making an example out of Tyrus before he gets his title back. So then we had part 1 of the Jeff Hardy interview, and with Mike Tenay. Karen was there. Jeff Hardy. I said it's Jeff Jarrett. Yeah. And Jeff Jarrett said that God opened up doors, and he's sitting here in the Impact Zone. And
was this part 2? We saw a 5-second interview last week where he said nothing.
Yeah, he said a little more, but really not that much. He said that, Global Force Wrestling is about bringing promotions together on the same stage and creating dream matches. That's what he said.
Huh. How about that?
Well,
you got to try.
Yeah. And so he says he's going to do that with the King of the Mountain title, that it's going to be defended against different people. And he basically said the King of the Mountain title was going to be defended in Global Force Wrestling, which makes no sense because they're doing a tournament for their world title on the next show. The Global Force title on the July 24th show.
Well, maybe that'll end up being the King of the Mountain title now.
No, because Jeff's going to be defending it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Time for a unification match here pretty quick.
Yeah, so EC3 did an interview, and he announced his first opponent was Norv Burnham. Norv Burnham, he mentioned he was the first guy that he beat, so he wanted to give him the first title shot. EC3 did his own ring announcing, and he announced that Norv Burnham weighed 8 kilos, which, for those keeping track, is a little under 18 pounds. And he won that one quick, like real quick. And then he announced himself as the winner. Josh was talking about what a great win this was, what an impressive win, things like that. It was ridiculous. Then EC3 said, I've just beaten a man from the land, so next I'm going to beat a man from the sea. So Shark Boy came out, and he beat him, and right away, again, Josh was putting over what a viable contender Shark Boy was. It's like,
it sounds like great television.
It was great television. I'm sure, like, if you're listening, you're going like, this announcer is like, by putting this stuff over, is just killing his credibility, and who can believe anything he says, and blah, blah, blah. But, one of the things that in that's unique in TNA, and actually in Lucha Underground as well, is that when your goal is not to actually make money and have no revenue streams, basically, you actually can have an announcer just be, have no credibility, because what does it matter? It's not like he's got to sell you on any angles and sell any tickets, right? I mean, I know, granted, nobody watched that pay-per-view, but they didn't promote anything for the pay-per-view anyway. So what did it matter? So anyway, it's like all the rules are out the window, because we're not in this business to actually sell tickets or do anything.
Make money.
Yeah.
A strange business plan.
Yeah, no kidding. So then Kurt Angle came out and had a contract that he can get his rematch whenever he chooses. So he says he's choosing tonight. So they were advertising that. So Bobby Lashley beat Tyrus. Of all the Bobby Lashley matches he's had since he's been back, this was the worst. Then we had another interview with Jeff Jarrett, and they were talking about the TNA relationship, and Mike Tenay was asking him about, how can we make it work? And he says that the whole key to this is the trust factor and having a common goal. Yes, the trust factor. A company that hid Vince Russo from their television partner and hides everything from their talent. And actually in meetings, Taz actually talked about this on his podcast about how in meetings, he was at meetings and Taz was like, you really need to tell the talent, more because the trust factor. And they were just like, we pay them. They don't need to, we don't need to tell them anything. So that's the deal. So Jeff's talking about if everyone's goals are aligned, and the goals of Global Force Wrestling, the goals of TNA are aligned, the sky is the limit. And then he put over, his great memories of TNA, his matches with Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Mick Foley. Common theme. He did mention Bobby Roode, James Storm, Eric Young, and Don West as well. So of all those people that he talked about in TNA, Roode and Storm are the only. Well, Storm's actually gone.
Storm's
and
gone.
Bobby Roode's working. Yeah, so the only one left in TNA is Bobby Roode, and Bobby Roode's working his show. But yeah, he put over Don West, who they got rid of as an announcer. Yeah, he just put over everybody they got rid of basically. He says he takes great pride in putting together all those guys on the same team and having such a great team with such anyway, he talked about anyway, that's what he talked about. So it was hilarious. Then we had Madison Rayne against Velvet Sky, which Velvet Sky won. And that match was fine if you just like bad women's wrestling because it was bad. So we had Kurt Angle and EC3. The entire match, the world title match, it goes 3 minutes. The entire match is EC3 running away, in theory trying to get counted out, but Kurt would keep throwing him in the ring. So finally, Kurt put him in the ankle lock, and he punched Brian Hebner, so he got disqualified. Then he's tapping all over the place, but he was DQ'd first. So that was the match. That was the main event.
How about that?
Yeah.
And then Dixie returned as a babyface.
Yeah, the people didn't know what to make of her. She wasn't good either. I mean, I don't know what it was, but she just wasn't very good. The deal, she mentioned the last time she was on TV, she got put through a table and broke her back, and then said that like she looks back at the tapes of what she did that year and it wasn't very good. And she was in
Funny,
fact,
I did the same thing.
I know. She was in fact a monster. I don't even recognize this person. I lied and manipulated and I have hurt this company. And now you're the one who's out of control. You've been lying to these people and you put together this terrible TV show. She didn't say terrible TV show, but she just said this,
Abomination?
Yeah, something like. She actually didn't use those words, but she insinuated the TV show that he was not doing a very good job booking the show. And she said, the company does not belong to me and it does not belong to you. It belongs to all of these fans who've supported us, even the ones who've only supported us for one day. So she can't change the past, but what she can do is make sure that the mistakes are not repeated. I'm telling you, I guess this was good. You earned this title, you carried it, and now you have to defend it using your skill, not your last name. This has been an embarrassment. So it was an embarrassment. And somebody needs to be in charge. So Ethan's all happy thinking he's going to be in charge. But she said that it's not going to be me and it's not going to be you. She didn't say it was going to be Bully Ray, but I guess that's next week. So there you go. That was the show.
All right, we've also got some classic TNA, the departures of Hernandez and MVP.
I do have to say that as TNA stories go, Brian, when you write that book, this is a good one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're all good, but this is a particularly good one.
I'm completely befuddled, baffled.
Are you really?
How seriously? How can you be so?
Let me ask you a serious question.
How can you be so stupid?
Are you really? I mean, when this story happened, and all of a sudden everybody is all, oh my God, you got to talk about the Hernandez story. I mean, maybe it's just because it's been 12 years of incompetence, but this one just rolled off my back. I'm not surprised at all.
You have a company that's been around for 12 years, and there's a guy who's under contract to another company, and you don't realize that he's got a non-compete, and you film 6 weeks worth of TV with him. Not even with no papers, without him
doesn't
even
surprise me at all.
Papers. Oh my God!
I'll tell you the one thing about it. I'll tell you the one thing about it that did surprise me. Okay, I'll tell you the one thing about it that really surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow this business in even a cursory manner, you're well aware that the Lucha Underground contracts were 7-year deals. Because when this company was starting up, that was a big... For weeks, that was a story. All of these guys that were thinking about it, some turned it down, some didn't want to commit to 7 years. The 7-year thing, you'd have to be a complete idiot to not know that these were 7-year deals.
That's why...
Now, somebody who could work in wrestling and not say, Hernandez, are you sure this wasn't a 7-year deal like everybody else?
Well,
that did surprise me.
Okay, his thing when he came in there was that he got his release. And in fact...
Where's his release?
Okay, in fact, the truth of the matter... Well, no, here you go. The truth of the matter is that he did verbally get his release.
But where's his release?
But the point is that... he didn't
get it!
Yeah, well, they dragged their feet on it because, they're all out not doing it, so they never filled it out. But the point is, even if he got his release, this is the whole point. The release had a 90-day non-compete. So even if in fact, they never did fill out the release form, but they did verbally agree to it, and that's his argument, is that, well, we verbally agreed to it. But in the release that was not
never signed a contract?
The TNA?
Anywhere. It's
definitely
verbally, you've got to sign it, you've got to have a copy of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, the whole thing is like, when I saw him on TNA, I mean, I knew that there was something wrong because there's no way, given the nature of where people from Lucha Underground come from, which is TV people, that he could ever appear on another show at the same time as their season's still going on. So at the very least, and I knew about the 90-day non-compete anyway, but the one that threw me off was maybe they just got mad at him and said screw you, but I couldn't figure out how he could be on TV before August the 5th, which is or whatever the last day is that he's still on. Which would be, I mean, he's got a couple more matches to go. So I thought that was really weird, but there you go. He wasn't allowed, and they filmed segments on all these shows, and they got to take them all off the shows and redo the shows. And MVP's gone because he was involved in this. MVP was the one who called him up, and I don't know what the whole nature is with MVP, but I do know that MVP leaving was not a surprise to a lot of people. So and that's before the Hernandez thing. He didn't. There was a lot of talk that he wasn't very happy. Although the Hernandez thing probably was the straw that broke the camel's back in his case. So he's gone. Kenny King is got a decision to make according to Twitter, which is in fact whether he's going to stay or he's going to go. So it's who knows what's going on with TNA.
I know what's going on with TNA. It's a disaster.
Yeah, they're gonna run a show. They're gonna run Bound for Glory on pay-per-view though. I don't know why. I mean, well, who knows? I mean, they ran Slammiversary and ended up. I don't think anyone bought that show.
No, well, I mean, the three of us did. That's about it. That's all I know.
Yeah. Yeah, TNA tape tonight too.
Yeah.
James Storm and Austin Aries were back, and Crimson was back as well. Not that they do anything with him anymore, but so they're back with on I guess per day deals, and then it's just hard for me right now with TNA because it's just they announced Bound for Glory, so they're in Charlotte on I think October the 4th. So they're going to do another pay-per-view. That date's real interesting if you think about it because it's in October, but we'll see.
I guess you just got to promote it. You know what I mean?
Yep, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
Who knows what's going to happen? They changed, except for the top guys, they changed people's contracts, which, the funny thing is I've talked to some people, and there are some people who are, just fine with the change in the contracts, and some just are really unhappy. So
why were some happy and some were not?
Well, I mean, it just depends. If you were on a deal where you're getting paid by the date, but you had a monthly guarantee, but your monthly guarantee is really low, and they increased your pay for the date, the belief is that if you're going to run shows, and you're going to get booked regularly, you're going to make more money. Now, they didn't change guys' contracts to pay them more money. I think that's the one thing. So some people who are thinking about this are probably going like, they're not changing this contract to pay us more money. So therefore, they're the ones who are less happy. The ones who are going like, hey, we're getting paid more for the date, by the date, and their monthly guarantee wasn't much anyway. Sounds better. And they can still work all the indies that they can, as long as TNA will have first rights on dates. They still haven't, even though they said they were going to be doing like a full schedule and everything, they still have not announced any shows other than that show in York, Pennsylvania, which still has front row tickets available.
Front row?
Yeah, but the front row may be jacked up in price, so it may not be as bad as it sounds. But it may be worse than it sounds. Who knows? But they still have front row available. So, yeah. So TNA's, I don't know. It's just hard for me to get into TNA right now. Just not that it isn't good, because the TV's been sometimes as the TV's. The TV 2 weeks ago was bad, and then last week I was busy with it was UFC that night and so many other things going on, and I just didn't even watch it. And this one I haven't had a chance to watch, although I'll probably watch it tomorrow. But it wasn't like I was like, I got to watch this. It was like I felt like I had to watch Lucha Underground first and Ring of Honor first. So.
So TNA has been taping all week, and they have already taped. They started, I guess at the tapings a couple of days ago. They started the Global Force versus TNA storyline, the invasion angle or whatever it is. And as of tonight, I guess they've already wrapped it up. Take us through these tapings. I don't know if they wrapped
it up, but yesterday they set up the GFW guys. Jeff Jarrett, basically, Dixie Carter made Jeff Jarrett the head of creative, or the head of whatever they call it, the lead authority figure, the role that Bully Ray had, and he's gone. So now Jeff Jarrett has it. And the first thing Jeff Jarrett did was turn heel with all the Global Force guys beating up all the TNA guys and taking the tag team titles. Trevor Lee and Brian Myers took the tag team titles. So it set up a match with Dixie Carter's team against Jeff Jarrett's team in a lethal lockdown. The winner gets the loser's shares in TNA. So Dixie Carter's team won, which in theory means that Dixie got Jeff's shares. I don't know. It's like from a business standpoint, if you were, from a business, trying, in a lethal lockdown match, and the winner got the loser's shares, wouldn't you want to lose?
If it were TNA, I would.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you're, unless you're not funding it, but it's like you're, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's not worth very much when it's losing money all the time.
Did they mention that in the storyline as they were doing this match here?
That both sides wanted to lose?
Yeah,
no.
this company's losing money, and someone's got to go down with the ship, so we're going to put all of you in a cage, and nothing like that.
No, that would be something WCW would probably do. TNA isn't quite like at that level yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So any other fun notes from the tapings?
Oh, I'm sure there's tons of fun notes, but Jeff Hardy's Ethan Carter's slave for 30 days or something, or assistant, because Matt Hardy lost Ethan Carter III. I think still taped a lot of stuff for a lot of months, and they're going on. I mean, there's it's nothing else spectacular. They brought in a whole bunch of new guys, so that's good. Jeff got his company on television in some way. I don't know what's going to happen with these two companies in next year, but we'll see. I mean, Global Force has, as far as I could tell, Global Force has nothing after October, and TNA's got nothing now, except for a house show here and there until England. So
England in January?
Yeah, they'll probably have to do another taping at some point. But who knows?
For what?
For
YouTube?
International.
I guess still is international.
They still got international commitments. They're probably going to stay afloat in some way, shape, or form. I don't think they're going to completely fold. It's not like they have big overhead now. I mean, they've gotten rid of all of the. They're basically trying to get rid of all the guaranteed contracts, so the overhead's down. So I mean, they may survive as a low budget entity, So, and just come in and do TV with whoever's available on those days. Since nobody's, as far as contracts go. A lot of the guys, most of the guys still, they still may be under contract where they get first dibs on dates with a lot of those guys, the ones that are still there anyway. The few, James Storm, I guess, is a free agent, but the rest of them that were there, I'm trying to think who else is a free agent. I mean, pretty much, I don't think anyone else is. So, but yeah, they can, they can work wherever they can on their other days.
So hold on, I got to stop you here. So we did not review Impact last week, to my knowledge, or maybe we did, and I was half asleep.
We didn't.
What? Jeff Jarrett came in. He stole the King of the Mountain title in the King of the Mountain match.
He won it.
He won it. Whatever happened, but. How was it explained, and did it make any logical sense that he was named the new authority figure?
Yeah, Dixie needed Dixie needed someone. They were all making nice to each other. He was in the Hall of Fame. He thanked Dixie. He thanked everyone. Yes, there was no problem with that, actually.
All right.
And I mean, even during the show, the whole thing was like there was a big fight between the TNA guys and the GFW guys, and Jeff came back and just goes, "This is not an invasion angle. We're just here as competitors."
Did he really say an invasion angle?
Yes. Well, I don't know if he used the word angle, but he said twice that this is not an invasion. So
okay, invasion's okay. Invasion angle is not okay.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't an invasion angle yet, although it turns into one next week, I think. So. Anyway, he talked about the card. He said that the King of the Mountain Championship is going to be on the line, and it's going to be because he's giving it up because he's done wrestling. He's now a promoter. And Eric Young came out, and Eric Young said that he was God, and that he sent Kurt Angle home, and he's never coming back. Which I don't know if Kurt's ever coming back, but Kurt's home. He should be ready for the next tapings.
The next tapings, you say?
Well, they're taping after Bound for Glory in October. Let's see. So Eric bragged that he took a War Hero's leg. So we got that. So I guess that the match where he won the leg has happened. The match where he loses the leg back is still upcoming. He wanted a match with Jeff for the King of the Mountain title, and Jeff said that. The King of the Mountain Championship is not like any normal title because it's going to be defended all over the world in multiple promotions. Athletes from Global Force and TNA are going to be fighting over it tonight, and he said that Eric Young could be the first guy in the match. And Eric Young attacked Jeff Jarrett anyway. And then that's when the GFW guys ran in for the save, and then the TNA guys ran in, and they were all fighting, and then Jeff told them, this is not an invasion. We're here for competition. So get focused and get ready for your matches. Then we had Kong against Lady Tapa. It was a double count out, and it totally sucked. I mean, I would have a lot worse words for it, but I saw that Villanos match, and nothing could be worse than that. But if I hadn't seen the Villanos match, I'm telling you, this match was terrible. It was just awful. So anyway, the less said about it, the better. PJ Black did an interview. In the middle of the interview, he picked up his phone, even though it never, and had to talk to somebody, even though the phone never rang. Drew Galloway was also looking at his phone and said he would do whatever it takes to win the match, although he wasn't actually in. He ended up not being in the match. Bobby Roode came out, and he was not in the match either, and he's really mad that he wasn't considered for the King of the Mountain match. He called out Rockstar Spud because Spud had ended the career of Austin Aries last week. So they went back and forth, and Bobby Roode beat the hell out of Spud. Threw him out of the ring, threw his shoulder into the post, choked him with his jacket. and put him in the crossface on the floor. I don't know exactly where this went, but Jeff Jarrett started yelling at Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode said, "This is a wake-up call for you and for TNA management." So Bobby Roode was not in the King of the Mountain match. Then we had Bobby Lashley against Jesse. The winner gets in the King of the Mountain match. The thing that was really interesting here is, Jesse's got that great physique. Next to Bobby Lashley, he looked like frickin' Spud. He looked so small. And it's not even that Bobby Lashley is really big, although Bobby Lashley's lost a lot of weight. I mean, he's, didn't he fight like 238? So he's probably in the low 240s. He's a lot lighter than he's been in the past. Bobby won with a spear. The spear didn't look good. Match was all right. Not bad. Short. Then we had Drew Galloway was laid out, and there was a chain next to him, just like when Bully Ray was laid out. So, so he's out. He's taken to a medical facility. They use the same freaking terminology as WWE. You know that Josh will not say belt when in that TNA match where you had to hang the belt up. Josh kept calling it a title and a championship. He would not use the word belt. It's hilarious. Well, he's brainwashed. Cannot speak English. Then we had, after Drew Galloway's out, we had Dixie Carter, Jeff, and Karen in the room, and they're all flustered because Drew was going to be in the match, and Dixie goes, "What are we going to do?" And Jeff goes, "Well, I'm a promoter. I'm going to come up with something. We'll replace him." It's like, what a freaking genius he was.
That's why he's a promoter now.
That's why exactly. Dixie couldn't come up with it.
And no, it's only been 13 years in this business. She's still got a lot to learn.
So Dixie said she was leaving to go to the hospital to check on Drew, who had not left in the for the hospital yet. So I guess she was trying to beat him there. EC3 and Tyrus came out. They were doing an interview. He mentioned that he beat Matt Hardy in Matt Hardy's own match, the Heavy Metal Mayhem match that Matt invented. And Matt came out, or Full Metal Mayhem. And anyway, Matt said that he's not making excuses, that EC3 has proven he's among the greats as a TNA champion. But as long as you're the champion, you are going to remain in my focus. And EC3 said that when you go to war with someone, you end up with respect. He goes, "I've never been hit as hard as you did when you did that leg drop through the table on me. And I couldn't believe that I would get up from it, but I did. And you are more than worthy of another title shot, but I'm not the one to decide. I'm going to let the fans decide." So he asked the fans, should he get the shot? And, of course, the fans said yes. So then EC3 goes, "The answer is no." And then Tyrus attacked Matt Hardy. EC3 hit him with a belt shot, which was not called a belt shot. And Tyrus...
Please tell me they called it a title shot.
I don't remember what he called it. The Dollhouse promo. Next week is going to be Gail Kim against Marty and Jade in a handicap cage match. And Taryn Terrell told them that you can tell Gail Kim... she wants Gail Kim to never lay a finger on her again. Chris Mordetsky did an interview and said did nothing to make me excited about seeing him whatsoever. The Wolves against Trevor Lee and Brian Myers. The Wolves won. So next week, I guess the Wolves lose to Trevor Lee and Brian Myers. The action was good, but I can't say Myers and Trevor Lee, it's not like they showed anything special or anything. I mean, Trevor Lee's real good, but if like you watched it, you would just think he's just a guy. I was, didn't really stand out or anything like that. Bobby Lashley said he was bringing back the title. Tigre Uno and Sanjay Dutt. Short match. Pretty good action. Tigre Uno won that one with a sunset flip off of a Frankensteiner. Jeff Jarrett was with EC3 and Tyrus, and Jeff was talking to him and telling him what a great champion he was. And EC3 says, I see through you. These wrestlers don't see through you. My aunt doesn't see through you, but you're full of crap. You can fool all the guys in Dixie, but that was that. And then Jeff said he had his replacement, which ended up not being EC3 or Tyrus. They never told us who it was, and it ended up being Robbie E. So whatever. Next week, though, he told EC3 that next week you're defending the title against the winner of the King of the Mountain match, which he wasn't happy about. Ken Anderson did a promo, talked about Bram. He said that Bram beat him up so bad with his own microphone that he thought maybe I should just go home and be a dad. But nope, I'm going to go home and be a dad on my own time and when I'm ready to, and I'm not ready to. So next week there is a open mic challenge, which is actually a mic coming from the ceiling, and you can use the mic as a weapon with Bram against Ken Anderson.
You can use the mic as a weapon?
Yes.
Huh.
And then we have the King of the Mountain match was Robbie E., PJ Black, Chris Mordetsky, Eric Young, and Bobby Lashley. And it never was that exciting. There was nothing wrong with it. It was like, I would call it like kind of an average-ish match. You know, not like a lot of the TNA main events that are really good. It's just, you know, that whole King of the Mountain thing, it's kind of hard. I don't think people really have it all figured out. You know, the whole thing with the penalty box and all the pins. And it's like they had all these pins really quick. Everybody was getting pinned left and right. It was like being pinned was no big deal. So that's kind of what it was. And then at the end, you know, a lot of guys were climbing the ladder. It was like it wasn't booked badly in the sense that you would have guys climbing the ladder like a ladder match and guys knocking them off. And physically what they did was pretty good, but the people didn't really care who won. They don't know how, you know, like they don't know PJ Black. They don't really care about Mordetsky. They don't care about Robbie E. They really didn't even seem to care about Eric Young and Lashley, but they probably cared about them more than the other guys. The finish was Eric Young was about to win, and he had the belt in his hands, and Bobby Lashley jumped off the top ropes and speared Eric Young off the ladder, and then PJ Black, who was also on the ladder, hit a 450 knee drop from the middle of the ladder onto Bobby Lashley, picked up the belt, and hung it up to win. So next week it's EC3 against PJ Black. So that's that. It was a show. It was not a bad show. It was not a good show. Just a show.
Well, that brings us to TNA here. Things not looking good. They're being canceled internationally in certain places, it appears. And
it's the places that. So here's the deal. When they signed with Destination America, it was a deal with there's the Discovery Network. So the Discovery Network, if you remember very early on, except for the markets that TNA already had television, the Discovery Network would as part of the deal was going to syndicate their shows internationally. So what's happening is in the markets that Discovery made the deals, they're starting to disappear in those markets, which doesn't look good. I mean, it's not just one; it's several. So it's I mean, they've got that out clause at the end of this. Well, it's not quite September, but the end of September, they've got that out clause, and nobody has said anything. I mean, it's the fact that they have scheduled no future television.
No one said
taping.
anything publicly.
No one said anything publicly. They've no one's given them the thumbs up. Even them themselves, no one's saying it's thumbs up. They have not scheduled October television tapings when they're taped. They're taped through the end of this month, and there's no future tapings. I mean, I know that there's talk of India tapings in November, which may happen. They're trying to get other international deals, but it's definitely a tough situation right now, without a doubt.
Raw's Monday, tomorrow night, tonight. We've got Sting, they've announced, is going to appear in the opening segment, hyping up the WWE title match with Seth Rollins at Night of Champions. They're doing a Beat the Clock challenge with, I believe, all of Team PCB.
Yes. Okay, so the deal there is what we said last week. When they did that segment with The Miz, the idea of that segment was that all three would end up building up this challenge where the three compete for the championship match with Nikki Bella at Night of Champions.
Can you believe we're already at the part where they're having problems?
Well, they haven't. Yeah, I know that's stupid anyway. You're right, because it's way too early. But the thing is like Did you get that? Nobody got that message in that
No,
segment.
it was a complete mystery until it was explained later.
Yeah, but even when it was explained, it was like, how did anyone expect with that script writing for anyone to come to that conclusion? It was the script writing there was just abysmal. So that, but yeah, the thing. We'll see what happens with the beat the clock thing. I mean,
The winner gets Nikki Bella at Night of Champions is the
Right.
stip.
Yeah. So as far as being a focal point of the show, they're a focal point of the show. They're going to have 3 matches from there, and there may be another one for all I know. But there's definitely 3 women's singles matches on this show, probably short. And what will be interesting is if if these will be the first matches where they won't have the cheerleading aspect, and they'll have to go out there and on their own without the other women, as soon as the crowd dies, pounding on the mat to get the crowd back up. So that's, and it'll be interesting also to see who they wrestle in those matches. So yeah, that's going to be, we'll see what happens.